Hey everyone, it's Benny the Finance Dog. Welcome to my channel. Today, as we do every Sunday, we're going to be giving a preview of the upcoming events in the market, as well as go over the charts for SPY, QQQ, and Apple. Let's begin. As always, we're going to take a look at the economic calendar. We seem to be in a little bit of a lull period, not much going on in terms of economic reporting through Wednesday. We do have an PMI coming out. That's usually a precursor to what is going on in the overall market, as the manufacturing index is who's making goods, durable goods. So keep an eye on that as an indicator of just the overall strength of the economy through this point in the quarter. Thursday and Friday begin a Jackson Hole Summit, very similar to a Fed event, though no official decision will be made in any terms of rate hikes, anything of that nature, though Jerome Powell will be giving a speech, and whether or not he comes out hawkish or dovish will, of course, have the potential to sway markets, so something to look out for on Thursday as well as Friday. Price action may be reactive to anything that might leak on Thursday, but the official speech is at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Friday, so that could definitely sway markets on Friday. Moving on to earnings, we're through the bulk of the earnings season, though we do have some big names reporting next week. We got Zoom reporting after close on Monday, kind of putting a stamp on the end of the pandemic era work from home, potentially, depending on how Zoom is doing. We got Macy's, Lowe's, and Dick's reporting on Tuesday before the open, which is indicative of the retail sector. And then the big one is going to be after close. NVIDIA is reporting on Wednesday. So all those names, the AI names, chip names, are on watch for that leading up to Wednesday. Thursday, not a ton of big earnings, though you could look to Affirm after close for how the buy now, pay later is doing. Ulta Beauty, Gap, Nordstrom would also shine some light on the retail sector. No earnings on Friday. We're kind of through the earnings season. So earnings less effective on Thursday and Friday, I think, than the overall Jackson Hole Summit. But that NVIDIA earnings on Wednesday is definitely going to hold some sway after close. Now let's move on to the charts for SPY, QQQ, and Apple. Looking at the SPY chart for the monthly, we can see that we've had a major down candle this month of August. We've totally eclipsed where we were at in July. Wow, I can't get my month straight right now. Totally eclipsed where we were at in July and have breached into that June territory. We are looking at halfway point of June as a bounce, just for the sake of this candle integrity holding. So about halfway down the candle would be that 430 mark. It looks like it still has held. We also have some, past resistance turning into support there, so we could see a bounce all the way down at that level. What was nice to close out this week, as we switch over to the weekly here, we did get a strong bounce off that 433 level, and it held for us to close the week higher at that 436 level. So we could see that held. We look to continue holding next week. We got some strong support there, as indicated on this weekly. Kind of started that big run that we talked about earlier. That was bullish week, bearish week, bullish week, bearish week, bullish week, and then finally broke in the middle of July. That all began kind of at that 430 level. So if that does hold on SPY, that would be a good level, to look for a bounce going into next week, assuming we have not bounced already. So on the upside, we're still looking at that 440 level to reject in the event that we just bounce and move down. 437 is also on watch to the upside. Moving on to QQQ. Similar story as usual, little bit obviously less range in these candles on the monthly, but we have actually eclipsed the 50% mark of the June candle. So I wouldn't be surprised if potentially we got down to this 350, 347 level before a bounce. Same kind of story here on the tech name. push back up towards the end of the week as, money came into Apple and Microsoft kind of closed the week. Amazon and Google had strong ones as well. On watch next week, I already talked about Nvidia, but Tesla, what it does as it moves towards the 200 level is going to be important, as well as Microsoft. Microsoft to find a floor, somewhere around that 310, 300, and that's overall going to affect the Qs moving into next week. As we switch over to the weekly, same kind of thing here. We're at the beginning of that stair-stepping pattern of the bullish week, bearish week, bullish week, bearish week. So if we do have already test that 355 level, essentially, so if we break through that, we have room all the way down to 348, like I said, 347, which was kind of like the levels at the end of May. If we have bounced already and we're going to go to the upside, I'd look for the same levels we passed on the way up. So 360, 363, 365, all the way up really till 368. If we're going to reject and continue on moving down with a little bit of a breather in this pattern. Lastly, let's look at Apple. It's our most traded one. Apple had a nice bounce to close the week here. Obviously rejected the lows of the pre-market, but as we look on this monthly chart, we can see that again we've eclipsed the June open and are into May. Halfway down the May candles, kind of where we found support, which is good because those are those highs from December, January 22, also serving as resistance turned into support. I think Apple bounces here and moves to the upside because it has a lot of strength. That being said, if we are to give up some additional space on this, I was looking at 169, but we could break below that down to this 165, 163 level that we have support on from the resistance of July and August of last year. So we could test that and then move back up if we are to get a little bit more downside action. Moving over to the weekly, same kind of thing here, though it's a little bit more defined. Looks like we kind of already tested that level in that 170 range, but we could see a further move down to the 165, which is kind of where the price action took a break this past April. We had a hiccup at that 165 level, kind of traded sideways for about a month before exploding up. And between there, we didn't get a ton of breaks except for at this 170 level. So if we break it to the downside, we could free fall all the way to 165. I'm more so looking for a bounce up and then a test of 180, 178 before a rejection down further. Hopefully we get a nice green week next week, which would be a pullback in this downward move. We can enter puts on the long term and bank that way. So that's kind of what I'm looking at heading into next week. Hopefully you guys have a plan, a similar plan or a different plan. Either way, let me know in the comments. Would love to see what you guys got planned for the upcoming week. Keep a plan. It's always best to trade your spots. Wait for your pitches, right? Not every trade is going to be a home run. Take your base hits and stay trading. Stay happy. Thanks for watching. As always, make sure to like and subscribe for more content. Woof woof.